Hello and welcome to my special vlog. So I have a challenge and it's I picked out these books that I know nothing about. I also don't know anything about the authors. I did a live show where I was having y'all kind of help me pick which project to do. But on that live stream, I had two people kind of vote and it was like one for each one. So that didn't decide. So I kind of want to read this book, like just based off of the cover. But these, because I hate the cover, I think that might be the most interesting, and I think that it'll be easier to quickly DNF these books if I don't like them. But I am going to let Alexa decide instead. So this is going to be number 1, and this is going to be number 2. Hey Alexa, pick a number between 1 and 2.
Here's a number between 1 and 2. It's 2.
Okay, so we're going to start with the ugly book covers. So the purpose of this reading vlog is to figure out if we should judge books by their covers. Like, can we actually figure out what we would be into and versus what we would not be into? So I picked out what I would consider to be ugly covers, or more so just covers that tell me I am not the ideal reader for the book. So we've got that one. We've got this one. We've got this one. This one is actually not that bad of a cover. I could just tell that it was homemade from the text. It just looked very homemade from the text. And then this last one with a feather duster on it. This one's not really an ugly cover. It's just you don't know anything about the book based off of that cover. So those are going to be the books that I'm trying out. I think I'm going to do this as kind of like where I read one chapter of each and give my feedback, and then maybe try to completely read whichever one is my favorite and kind of do a vlog for it. So let's get started. In order to pick which one we're going to read first, I am again going to have Alexa choose. Hey Alexa, choose a number between 1 and 4.
Here's a number between 1 and 4. It's 1.
Okay, so we're going to start with this one. All right, I'm going to go to my bedroom. I'm going to cozy up. I'm still in my pajamas. And I'm going to start reading this. Yeah, I don't like the writing style of this one. I figured that out in like the first 2 sentences. Because I know what writing styles I like and what writing styles I don't. And so after reading like 3 pages or something, there was still no dialogue. So I flipped until I found dialogue, which was on page 8. And there was like a robot, and he had done something where he was getting caught. And then I just kind of like flipped through, and there's barely any dialogue. So it's very narrative based. Lots of like description, but descriptions I don't care about. So I'm just like, it's not for me. So I will read you some, let me see here. Going back to the first page. A living will. The chambers of fossil wells. Moonlight and thick shadow allowed Lyle to imagine them as they once were. Water's power had been preserved there, incised where streams whirled potholes, hollowed into caverns as the gorge opened up and the currents drilled deeper. The wells were rock salt, and from the bedded strata of its pockets, a myriad creatures hailed and beckoned as if expecting some observer from the future to return them to life. A man of 26 years, he was wiry with a round head and hair stiff as straw. He stood on a ledge of the east wall. Because the gorge ran through the city center, the top of the tall buildings were visible. He couldn't see the patrols, but a streamer of salt dust glittered in the moonlight, marking their presence around the construction on the west rim of the gorge. Here, amid the ruins of the east wall, Lyle was alone. It's just too much description for me. I'm like, I want to get to the action. Anyway, so what is this book about? Because I don't know. I don't even remember what all I predicted in the other video. But Lyle is a young man who hates his life in the state of salt, a cultural and literal desert. He vandalizes a state icon, then swallows a poison pill that transports him not to death, but to a liminal realm, blue, watery, and holy alien. He's rescued and shepherded by henchmen of the polyp, god of the oceanic world they call heaven. A series of encounters unfolds between Lyle and the monstrous, seductive god who gradually reveals his grandeur and mysterious purpose. Lyle is horrified at first, but soon finds himself falling for the polyp and the potent and bizarre creative potential he represents. Whimsical and outlandish, but also timely and dead serious, Arms from the Sea navigates imagined realms of possibility, pointing to what it might mean to redeem a desolate world. I think it's just too many, it doesn't flow well. Like, the sentences they're not smooth. It's not easy to read. There's a lot of, like, the 8 to 10 letter words in here. It's not that they're hard words. It's just it makes it not smooth. So I don't like that. But anyway, then on the back it says, enough of the known, of seeds already sown. If you're a god, make something strange, something the light has never seen. Let yourself turn in the silver garas that circle these pinprick eyes. Give up this brittle body and soul. Revert to the plasma of pure imagination. I'm going to play the foundation of life from scratch. What? It's like a whole bunch of reading stuff and having no idea what it's saying. I like very direct, very concise, economical use of words. So this is definitely not for me. So, win for me, saying book covers are a good indicator of whether you'll like a book or not, because I didn't like this cover and I don't like the book. So that's a DNF. I only read like 3 of the pages. There was 14 pages in this chapter, and I knew right off the bat I didn't like the writing style. The other thing was that I noticed once it got to some of the dialogue and stuff like that, they don't really use contractions. Like, it'll say cannot instead of can't, and I'm like, I cannot read this book. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, is not using contractions, because it leads to stiff writing, and I don't like it. So yeah, I'm DNFing this sucker. And on to book number 2. Let's see what Alexa picks for us. Hey Alexa, pick a number 1 through 3.
Here's a number between 1 and 3. It's 3.
Okay, so we're gonna go with this one. And, yeah, see what it's about. It's got a nude lady vacuuming. I came up with some pretty, wild reasons for her to be naked and vacuum cleaning. Basically, I said she was a maid for the rich, and when the rich weren't there, she would, like, use their pool and stuff, and then she would put her clothes in their, washing machine and dryer, and she would do her job completely butt naked. So that was what I came up with. So yeah, we're gonna find out what it's actually about. So I'm already laughing because this is page 1. I think that this could be pretty funny. I do not cuss, but I will go ahead and read the first page like I did with the other book. And, yeah, all I did was read, like, the first sentence on this one so far. So I'm just going to go ahead and read the first page. Sorry for the shaky hand. Poop. It was hard, misshapen, probably handmade. Nut brown, flecked with beige, sandalwood soap, it looked like, sitting on a porcelain plate with a peacock painted on its edge. Having just finished scrubbing the toilet, Mona grabbed the soap to wash her hands. Once wet, it fell apart and caked her fingers like clay. The stench, although vaguely sweet, brought instant tears. She blinked the tears away and peered at her hands. The beige flecks she saw now were undigested seeds. and something long, wet, and army green had been swirled into the middle. The green thing, whatever it was, had been binding it all together. Spinach, Mona grasped. WTF? What's happening? She heard Terry whisper. Mona leaned against the towel rack, reeling as if she'd been punched in the face. Someone pooped in the soap dish, she said, after a while. Terry didn't say anything. Mona's upper lip was sweating. She made the water as hot as she could bear and rinsed her hands. I mistook it for hippie soap, Terry, Mona said, and swallowed like a dummy. Don't panic, Terry said in her most gentle voice. Yeah, so I may or may not like this one. I thought it might be funny because it is pink, and I thought there might be some kind of mystery element to it. So maybe she wants to get back at some of her clients. So, we'll see. I've read 10 pages of this. Turns out the first chapter is 55 pages. I am not doing that. So I like the writing style, but it's very interesting and weird, the story so far. So pretty much all 10 pages is talking about this person at this house keeps leaving poop in various places, and they're kind of clever about where they do it. So they had one poop that was shaped like a finger, and they put it by a book written in Braille because the owner of the house is blind. And then they put one piece of poop on top of a stool, so it's like a stool on a stool. And then they took one and they molded it to look like candy that they knew that this maid person liked or whatever. And they put it right below the cabinet where they usually kept that particular candy. So she picks it up with her fingers and almost eats it before figuring out that it's poop. And the other thing is this Terry person that she's been talking to the whole time is an imaginary friend based off of an NPR host or whatever, like a radio person. So Terry is not real. So the only dialogue we're getting is between her and this real person. The other thing is there's this moment where Terry, the imaginary friend, asks her, like, are you sure the poop's really there? Which makes me wonder, I feel like this character is going to be an unreliable narrator. I think that she's definitely has some sort of mental illness. And the other thing is that there's therapy sessions, group therapy sessions, that are conducted within the house. So at first she thought it must be someone that was there for the group therapy, because it just didn't make sense that the owner was doing it. But I think the owner also has a kid and the owner has a dog. But the first one was left on a soap dish, and other ones were where a dog would not be able to defecate. So, and it's just been like artfully molded kind of, and some of them were like hidden behind plants and stuff where she would smell her way to it. And I'm just like, I really don't want to keep reading about poop, and I feel like she's an extremely unreliable narrator since she's a 26-year-old with an imaginary friend, which I think it's clever to have that in here so that there can be someone that she's communicating with while she's cleaning the house. So I do appreciate the cleverness of that. But then I was kind of flipping through and to find out where the end of the chapter was, and there was another character, and she was saying that character was a liar, and I feel like this is going to be a very confusing read, and not one that I'm super interested in. So what I'm going to do is I actually want to read the blurb now to see what this is about, and if I'm interested enough to continue, because right now, based off of what I read, I think it could be a possible 3-star, but I don't want to read anything that's not a 4 or a 5. Okay, so let's see what we've got. From the Whiting, I have no idea, award-winning author of Pretend I'm Dead and one of the most exhilarating new voices in fiction, a hilarious, edgy, and brilliant one-of-a-kind novel about a cleaning lady and her struggles to move forward in life. Mona is 26 and cleans houses for a living in Taos, New Mexico. She moved there mostly because of a bad boyfriend, a junkie named Mr. Disgusting. Long story, and her efforts to restart her life since haven't gone exactly as planned. For one thing, she's got another bad boyfriend. She calls this one Dark. And he happens to be married to one of Mona's clients. Dark and his wife aren't the only complicated clients on Mona's roster either. There's also the Hungarian artist couple who remind her of troubling aspects of her past and some of the underlying reasons her life had to be restarted in the first place. And as Mona tries to get over the heartache of her affair and the pains of her youth, she winds up on an eccentric, moving journey of self-discovery that takes her back to the home she grew up in and that she hopes will unlock the key to having a sense of home in the future. A constantly surprising, laugh-out-loud, funny tale about an utterly unique character dealing with some of the most universal issues in America today. Vacuum in the Dark is an unforgettable, astonishing novel from a major new force in fiction. Okay, so I don't like books with cheating, for one thing, so I'm not into that. I'm not sympathetic toward it. I can be okay with it if it's where the person is in a current abusive relationship and they're trying to get out of that relationship and they're falling for someone who's like trying to help them get out. Then I can be like, okay, I can read this book that has cheating because the couple that's currently together, like that person can just die. I don't care. You don't abuse your person in your relationship. I'm just like, no. I don't care what happens to you. I don't care if you get cheated on, whatever. So I can read it when it's like that, but I don't know what's going on with this, but I feel like it could be a 3-star, but it's not going to be a fast read, and just the imaginary characters, that's too confusing. I want something that's just direct. So I think I am going to go ahead and DNF this one at 10 pages. So again, we are 2 for 2, and me being right about the covers telling me I'm not interested in the book. So, but yeah, the writing style was good. So if the summary sounded good to you, then I would say go ahead and pick it up, because it does have a good writing style. I just think it's going to be kind of long and drawn out, and then it's her going back to her childhood home and stuff. Sounds very literary to me, and it's not the kind of plot that I'm interested in. So, yeah, that's it for this one, Vacuuming in the Dark. Who knows when the nude part's going to happen, but maybe that had to do with her affair. So, naked and vacuuming. Who knows? Anyway, let's go see what Alexa has for me next. I might actually wind up finishing this project in today. One little vlog. Y'all are going to be like, yeah, you finished it, but you didn't read any of the books. So, the one book, the spooky one, I could see that being good because I like that genre. I like paranormal. It just didn't have the best cover. Like, I could tell it was self-made. So, we'll see. I think the Eyes one, based off of what I was trying to guess that the plot could be really cool. I just don't like the cover. So, yeah, but I also had higher hopes for this one being something interesting, and like the first sentence was, I mean, it was interesting, but then it was still 10 pages later and we're still talking about poop. So, yeah, it's just not for me. But anyway, let's go see what Alexa picks for me to start next. Hey Alexa, number 1 or number 2?
Here's a number between 1 and 2. It's 2.
Okay, so this one. Let's go see. Trying to read, and I've got this man in here to disturb me. Really? What are you doing? Steven, I'm cold. Put the blanket back on me. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna bite your hand. What are you doing? Okay, I gotta get rid of this one so that I can read. He's so bad. Alright, let's read this first page together. Leah stood facing the dusty mirror in the large bedroom. The room was unfurnished but for the mirror and an imposing wardrobe, but in her memory it was still the most beautiful room she had ever seen. The closet, she knew, was made of oak, and its doors had been hand-carved by an Italian craftsman. Transported from France to the great house on the estate, along with all its furnishings, clothes, and household goods, it had taken the work of 6 laborers to assemble it under the watchful eye of the lady of the house. It was followed by a large canopy bed, a dressing table, carpets, drapes, a crystal chandelier, and, last but not least, the huge mirror. Leah recalled the days when she would enter in reverence and wonderment to clean the room. More than anything, she loved dusting the mirror and looking at her image reflected in it. That is so vain. The mirror was the most beautiful piece in the resplendent mansion, but now the room was empty and dusty. The wooden boards that sealed the windows could not protect the place from the ravages of weather and time that had left their mark on the rotting wardrobe and the peeling paper. Why are you starting the first page of a book with the description? Why? Get into the story. This tells me nothing. Through the layer of dust and dirt that covered the mirror and its opulent silver frame, Leah could only see a blurred... What? Very short chapter. Silhouette, and perhaps that was a good thing. Even if she could have seen her reflected image, oh my gosh, it would not have been a pleasant sight. Too many years, more than she could count, had passed since then. She would love to clean it, as she had in the past, and look at it, even for the last time. She knew the dust cloth was kept in the second drawer in the kitchen downstairs, but she couldn't open the drawer or pull out the duster, nor could she extend her arm and dust the mirror with her sleeve. She could only stare at the blurred image in despair. She continued standing in front of the mirror as she had done so many times, and then she heard the scream. Okay, why didn't you just start with that? Like, just start with she was standing in front of the mirror and heard a scream. That's more interesting than all that other description. We're going to read a little bit more because I'm just like, I'm out of breath because my husband came in here. He was distracting me. That's his way of flirting. But anyway, my first thought turns to the ceiling fan in my bedroom, not for sentimental reasons, but mainly because of my mother's belief in the right to privacy. Since reaching the age when one prefers to dress alone in front of a mirror, I don't know who does that. What? The room has been my private property. The thought of using the fan is rejected for fear that the plaster ceiling might collapse and fall because of the combined weight. The idea of using the ceiling hook flashed through. Oh my gosh. Why are we talking about a ceiling fan? Like, what? This is so boring. Oh my gosh. This people is how you can DNF a book in like one page. Okay? This is what I'm talking about. I know my taste, and this is not it. Let's see. I'm not even going to read further. Let's see how many pages this author decides to go before having any dialogue. Oh, look. Page 11. Seriously? Seriously. Let's look at the dialogue. See if the dialogue's good. The salesman in the red overalls was not really in tune with the slogan "Ask Me" painted on his back and regarded my question as a tiresome nuisance. The height, width, and depth are noted here. There's nothing about the weight. So, can you weigh it? I asked, noting the measurements on my cell phone so that I could work out the volume of the earth in the pot later. Really? The weight of the plant seemed unimportant to me. The salesman complained. How do you want me to weigh it? Why does it matter? Why are we talking about plants? I had hopes for this, okay? Because despite the cover, I was like, it could be interesting. But no, it's not. So we have one more chance for this. But so far, I'm 3 for 3, and me judging a book by a cover is a good first step, because so far I've been right. It's been super quick DNFs on these books. So let's go check out the last one. Alexa doesn't have to choose for us this time because there's only one left. So here's the one with the bad cover that I thought could actually be a good cover once you read the content. So with it being called Little Eyes and these looking like crayon drawings of eyes, it just kind of makes me think maybe there's like a 5-year-old murderer. But no one suspects them because they're 5 years old. It's also a New York Times notable book, but that really means nothing to me because the people that do these awards, I don't think they're the greatest judges because they're looking at literary stuff, and I don't like literary. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and try. Let's look at the first page and see what we've got. All right. South Bend. Okay, here we are. Whew. The first thing they did was show their tits. I'm already done. No. I'll keep reading, but I'm like, really? Really? Okay. The three of them, like with the book cover, you would not expect that at all. The first thing they did was show their tits. Oh my gosh. The three of them sat on the edge of the bed facing the camera. Oh my gosh. Took off their shirts and one by one removed their bras. Is this a sex trafficking thing? Robin had almost nothing to show, but she did it anyway. I'm thinking this is children and I'm thinking this is children that this is happening to. Oh my gosh. Took off their shirts and one by one removed their bras. Robin had almost nothing to show, but she did it anyway, paying more attention to the look she got from Katia and Amy than to the game itself. This is so sad. If you want to survive in South Bend, she'd heard the girls say once, you have to make friends with the strong. The animal's The animal's camera was installed behind its eyes, and sometimes it spun around on the 3 wheels hidden in its base. Moving forward or backward, someone was controlling the creature from somewhere else. Oh my gosh. And they didn't know who it was. The animal looked like a simple and artless plush panda bear, though really it was more similar to a football, with one end sliced off so it could stand upright. Whoever was on the other side of the camera was trying to follow them without missing a thing. Disgusting. So Amy picked up the panda and put it on a chair so it would be right at the height of their tits. The gadget was Robin's, but everything Robin had was also Katia's. This is so sad. And Amy's. That was the blood pact they had made on Friday, the pact that would join them together for the rest of their lives. And now they each had to do their own little show, so they got dressed again. Amy put the animal back on the floor, picked up the bucket she brought from the kitchen, and placed it upside down over the panda. The bucket moved nervously, blindingly, around the room. It collided with notebooks, shoes, and clothing strewn on the floor, which seemed to make it grow more desperate. Amy started to pant and let out excited moans, and the bucket stopped moving, Katia joined in the game, and they acted out a long and profound simultaneous orgasm. That doesn't count as your show, Amy warned Katia as soon as they managed to stop laughing. Of course not, said Katia, and she darted out of the room. Get ready, she cried, and she ran down the hall. Robin didn't usually feel all that comfortable with these games, though she admired Katia and Amy's nerve, and the way they talked to boys, and how they managed to keep their hair always smelling good and their nails perfectly painted. When the game crossed certain lines, Robin wondered if they might not be testing her. She'd been the last one to join the club, as they called themselves, and she tried hard to be worthy. Katia returned to the room with her backpack. She sat down in front of the bucket and freed the panda. Pay attention, she said, looking at the camera, and the bear's eyes followed her. Robin wondered if it could understand them. It seemed to hear them perfectly well, and they were speaking English, which is what everyone speaks. Maybe speaking English was the only good thing about having been born in a city as terribly boring as South Bend. Katia opened her backpack, took out her yearbook, and looked for the class photo. Amy clapped and shouted, "You brought the little whore? You gonna show him?" Katia nodded. She flipped the pages eagerly, the tip of her tongue poking out between her lips. When she found the girl she was looking for, she opened the album wide and held the photo in front of the bear. Robin peered over the book to see. It was Susan, the weird girl from her biology class. Biology class? I thought that these were like little girls. To be old enough to be taking biology and think that this is a game, that's interesting. That the club bullied for fun. They call her Big A, said Katia. She pursed her lips a couple of times, the way she did whenever she was about to do some high-level mischief, which was what being a member of the club demanded. I'm going to show you how to make some free money with her, Katia told the camera. Robin, darling, could you hold the book while I show the gentleman his job? Robin went over and held the book, unsure. Amy looked on curiously. She didn't know Katia's plan either. Katia scrolled through her phone until she found a video, and then she held the screen up in front of the bear's eyes. In the video, Susan lowered her stockings and underpants. It seemed to be filmed from the floor of the school bathroom, inside a stall. Maybe the camera had been set up between the trash can and the wall. They heard some farts, and the three of them rolled with laughter, and they cried out in pleasure when, before flushing, Susan stood, looking down at her own crap. This chick is loaded, my dear, said Katia. Half for you, and the other half for us. It's just that the club can't blackmail her again. The teachers already have their eyes on us. Okay, let's read the blurb at this point. I don't think I'm going to do this just because the content, it's just a lot. Longlisted for the International Booker Prize. Her most unsettling work. Yeah, I would agree with unsettling. And her most realistic. A visionary novel about our interconnected present and the collision of horror and humanity from a master of the spine-tingling tale. They've infiltrated homes in Hong Kong, shops in Vancouver, the streets of Sierra Leone. They're everywhere. But how can a person living in Berlin walk freely through the living room of someone in Sydney? How can someone in Bangkok have breakfast with your children in Buenos Aires without your knowledge? The characters in Samantha Schweblin's little eyes revealed the beauty of connection between far-flung souls, while exposing the ugly side of our increasingly linked world. In this prophecy of a story, Schweblin creates a dark and complex world that's all the more harrowing for being so recognizable and familiar. Samantha has perfected the art of pithy literary creepiness. Her latest book, Little Eyes, distills her uncanny ability to unnerve. Think of it as Black Mirror by way of Shirley Jackson. Ingenious like Exit West, Little Eyes has much to say about connection and empathy in the globalized world. I wonder if she has an author note in this. Oh. I'm going to put the phone down just so I can flip. So it does not look like there is an author note. There's not. So yeah. So I was right. It's dark. I thought it was going to be dark and have something to do with children, but it seems like these children are actually like 9th or 10th graders if they're taking biology, and they're setting each other up for the sex trafficking. It seems like they are making money off of it, but they're also blackmailing girls to get them to do this. And yeah, it's the dark side of society. And like sex trafficking and all that kind of stuff is very real. I think books like this are important, but they're not necessarily pleasurable reads, and not everyone can read them. I don't want to read this right now, if that makes sense. I think it could be interesting, but with the girls all kind of being in on it like a club and recruiting other people, I don't know. I think it's just too much for right now. For me, personally. But yeah. Yeah, just too much for me. But, the writing style was good. Like, it was very clear, to the point. But yeah, dark content. I can understand how it would be a notable book, because if that's like the first page, it's just going to get worse. Like in a good way, if that makes sense. Worse content-wise with these girls, and the people that are manipulating them to do this stuff. And yeah, but not worse like writing style and plot as far as entertainment value. I don't even know how to talk about this. But anyway, yeah, so I think that it would definitely wind up being like a hard-hitting book, but it's just very creepy with the stuffed animal filming them. And it is descriptive because it's not trying to shy away from anything. I just don't want to read it. So yeah, it's not the book for me, especially not at this time. I've read books that have to do with human trafficking. I have wrote a book that had to do with how people can get involved in like different areas of the sex work industry because of, just situations, making that a avenue to make money. But yeah, I'm not there right now. My brain, my mental health, I'm not doing it. So yeah, there you go.